Center Data was indeed named by Eugen, and I told him that he explained it perfectly. It's a not-for-profit organization housed at the campus of Tilburg University. I started there more than 20 years ago with 10 persons. Nowadays we have 50 persons, and they work on projects like SHARE, European Social Survey. But we also have our own online panel for data collection. And this talk, Gary asked me in June whether I would like to present this to you during this event, because I think he has read, I hope he has read the book chapter. I wrote a book chapter on digital technologies and the future of social surveys together with Tom. Tom cannot be here, unfortunately, but so he apologizes. But I will give this presentation now to you. Thinking back about how it happened, where we are almost today, or where we are today, in the mid of the last century, the most prominent data collection methods were face-to-face and paper and pencil interviewing, mail questionnaires. And that changed enormously in the early 70s, when computers and advanced software was introduced. And they first were used in CATI, computer-assisted telephone interviewing. And there were major surveys. I will show you some who started to use CATI in their projects. And at the end of the 80s, with laptop computers, we also had CAPI, computer-assisted paper interviewing. And I think in the last decades of the last previous century, these were the prominent modes of data collection. But things have changed. So I have some abbreviations here. Some will be clear to you. Some will be a little bit of puzzle, but I will explain. So the PSID is the panel study on income dynamics in the United States. They started in 1968, and they switched to computer-assisted telephone interviewing in 1993. And the German socioeconomic panel also started in the 80s of the last century, and they switched to CAPI, computer-assisted personal interviewing, in 1998. And the British Household Panel Survey, who started in 1991, switched to CAPI in 1999. And I think they are now part of the UK Understanding Society survey. So there was a successful CAPI transition, and the European Social Survey and the SHARE project, Survey of Health, Aging and Retirement, decided from the beginning to use CAPI for their fieldwork. Center Data was involved in the beginning of SHARE. We programmed, like we do now for the Guide project, the questionnaires and assist in translation and make sure that on the laptops in the field, the questionnaires are ready to be taken. In the last 2 decades, another mode was introduced. That's internet interviewing. And it was funny to see, because it was the first time I saw the abbreviation CAVI, computer-assisted video interviewing. But this one is CAVI, computer-assisted web interviewing. And it received more and more attention. There were many online panels 20 years ago, started by commercial agencies. And we at Center Data started in 2000 with the first internet panel for the Dutch population. And these kind of online panels have, well, several characteristics I would like to share with you alongside the LIST panel. The LIST panel is a panel we operate in the Netherlands. It stands for Longitudinal Internet Studies in the Social Sciences. It was started in 2007 with a huge grant from the Dutch government. This was all invested in infrastructure for sciences, and in the Netherlands, I'm not sure whether it also is the case in your country. In the Netherlands, if there is money for infrastructures, it goes to particle accelerators, brain imaging, astronomy, but never to the social sciences. And this was actually the first time in the Netherlands that we got a huge sum of money for data collection with a rather new method, web interviewing, but then also with a panel. So the panel is operational since 2007. It exists of 5,000 households, 7,500 individuals, aged 16 plus. All members in the household are registered. If they turn 16, they are invited to take part in this project. So what we have internet questionnaires every month, summing up to 30 to 45 minutes. The academic community, but it can also be used for policy research, can just submit a proposal. And then we program the questionnaires and we field the questionnaires in this panel. And we pay incentives. We already heard that incentives are very important. In a pilot study, we found out that it's crucial to pay incentives. With the recruitment, I'll show you in a minute how this was set up. We also used prepaid incentives. And for filling out the questionnaires, we have conditional incentives. So 15 euro per hour, 250 for 10 minutes completion time. It's not the case. Somebody told me, well, then I would take quite long for filling out the questionnaire. But of course, before we fill the questionnaire, we have some idea how long this will take, and then everyone gets the same amount. It's not dependent on the exact time they need to fill out the questionnaires. So what's so specific on the setup? It's representative. And how can you representative with the online mode? Well, we start with a sample that was drawn by Statistics Netherlands. And then we approach every household back then in 2007 via telephone or via personal interviewing. So it's a real probability sample. If people didn't have access to the internet, then we provide them with equipment. So we gave them a simple to use, easy to use computer, and also a broadband connection. So in the end, everyone in the panel has access to the internet. And it can be used for scientific, society relevant, or policy research. It should not be commercial research, because we recruited the panel members with the idea that they participate in non-commercial research. Some special features that we have there. We devote quite a lot of time on panel management, and take that seriously if you have a panel. Do not underestimate these kind of things. These are very, very important. So we help out the respondents if they have problems with filling out the questionnaires, if they have technical issues and so on. What we also do, if people do not participate for 2 months in a row, we just call them and ask whether they need some help or what happens if there are technical problems. So we do have contact with the panel members. After 3 months, we have even a structural interview. And if they then start participating again, we give them an incentive, a small incentive. So we do quite a lot to make sure that people participate in the surveys. And when we set up this infrastructure, and that's a general remark I would give to everyone, make sure that all data are available to anyone who is interested in it. Don't collect data for yourself. So that was also the reason for us to start in 2007 this initiative. And we do have an easy accessible data archive I will explain to you later. What's also, and I will have a slide later on, is a special feature. All data can be linked to admin data in the Netherlands. So the list panel started from Statistics Netherlands, so we know who they are. And in a remote access environment from Statistics Netherlands, you can, as a researcher, combine data from the list panel with admin data. So how was the recruitment done? Very carefully. We first had a pilot study. We heard about the importance of pilot study before. We had a pilot study before we started recruiting the panel. And in the end, we learned, well, send out a letter and brochure. It's named here B1 language level, so do not use very complicated words and make sure that everyone can understand it. We send them, when we started, we even sent them a 10 euro prepaid incentive with the brochure and the letter. Nowadays, we do 5 euro. And also the recruitment method changed a little bit over time. Before, in 2007, we had KT and KP, and now we start with KB, also to save money. But it works. I think we get in 35% of all respondents via KB, and then we have a follow-up with KT and KP. We have many contact attempts, more than 3. So if somebody is not at home, we cannot reach them, we continue, even if we have to do this 8 times. So we have a short recruitment interview with these panel members. If they have access to the internet, we will ask whether they would like to participate in longitudinal research. If they do, they can immediately start, register themselves via the web. If not, if they do not have access to the internet, we provide them with a simple, easy to use computer and broadband connection. Then we learned, certainly in the case of CAPI, when an interviewer is involved, or CATI, if that's the recruitment method, that people say, yes, I would like to participate, but in the end they won't. So we also put a lot of efforts in making sure that they really are going to participate. So we give them again an incentive if they participate for the first time. So on the slide I showed you how the protocol works. After 2 weeks we send a reminder. After 4 weeks we have a telephone interview. Then again a reminder letter. But we make sure that those who said yes also are going to participate, and that's quite an investment. When we started this initiative, again, we wanted to have an infrastructure for all researchers in the Netherlands and beyond. We didn't have the feeling that we could improve upon existing methods, but we want to have at least the same quality as leading scientific panels. And we looked at non-response patterns, and these were similar. So in the Netherlands, you have the Dutch election survey, and this is done by Statistics Netherlands with a KP interviewing, and they had a response rate of 70% and these kind of things, and non-response patterns looked similar. And compared to commercial access panels, we are superior. No coverage problems. So also those who do not have access to the internet, in the Netherlands, that's not a huge problem anymore, but back then it was. I think we had 15% non-internet. And there's no self-selection. And this is really, really important. People do not self-select them in the panel. When we send out the letter and the brochure, we had requests from neighbors and aunts and brothers. We said, no way, you're not in the sample, so you cannot participate. So only stick to the sample. But we did have differences with the population. So, and we also have attrition. So we have refreshment samples. We had a stratified one in 2009, a random one again in 2011, and so on and so on. And currently there's also a refreshment sample in the field. I think we have attrition rates of 10%, more or less 10% per year. And that's why we have to recruit again new households into the panel, because we want to stay at a level of 5,000 households, 7,500 individuals. It was a little bit of pity, but there was a huge grant application in the Netherlands from Marion Koopmans, who is very famous with the COVID pandemic worldwide. And she wanted to use the LIST panel for all kinds of studies, and she had money to raise it to 15,000 households. And she asked me how much money we need for that. That's quite a sum of money, but she asked for money, but she failed in the end. So that's a pity, but we're still looking for money to enlarge the panel. And everything is done in close collaboration with Statistics Netherlands. So they draw the sample for us, and they make sure we have the best sample possible. Not sure whether this, well, it's a colorful picture. This is how the samples developed over time. So the green one is the initial main recruitment. The red one below, that was a pilot study. Again, we started with a pilot study to make sure we had optimal parameters in the recruitment. And the other colors are the refreshment samples. And what you see here, that after 15 years, more than 15 years of data collection, we still have quite a substantial part of those who started in the early years in 2007. And again, I think the most important parameters are here a good panel management. Make sure that you take these respondents seriously, and incentives. It's also helpful. And good questionnaires. Make sure that you have good questionnaires and that you listen to your respondents if you're doing not well. What we also did, setting up the infrastructure, is some sort of, well, empty infrastructure. And our experience before was that if you ask respondents, if you ask researchers to come up with questionnaires, some periods of time they have all the same questions about the pension system or about the health system. And respondents, well, get a little bit annoyed by that. So we thought in the beginning, let's make a longitudinal questionnaire that's fielded by us, not invented by us. It was developed with international experts in the different fields. They came up with a questionnaire which had a length of about 100 minutes of interview time. And we split this in modules, and these modules are presented to the panel members every year. And this is the backbone of the infrastructure. So it's really, really efficient, because we had one proposal from a researcher who said, well, I actually need only one additional variable and I can run my study because everything is already there. And that's a very strong, strong part. And it's also possible to link the different concepts, the different topics from these respondents. And in that way, it's really, really efficient if you have such a panel structure. So some researchers won't come up with all kinds of questions because it's not in their discipline, but if it's there and you can use it, you can make very smart and helpful combinations of this. Data are available to anyone. So we have a data archive. We invested quite a lot of money in setting up an archive with Dutch metadata, but also English metadata. All data sets, all labels are translated to English and are available in this data archive and can be used by any interested researcher throughout the world. We now have more than 8,000 registered users, and many, many publications are based on these, on the data we have, including peer-reviewed journals and also PhD theses. So feel free to look at this data archive. If you want to browse the metadata, it's for free. You don't have to register. Once you want to download the data, you need to register. And then you can download the data and use any data you're interested in. It's also a little bit about innovations, and innovations do not start today. We already had lots of innovations, but before there's one slide in between. I already told you that data can be integrated with admin data at Statistics Netherlands. And in that way, research can get the best of admin data and survey data. It's done on a remote access machine at Statistics Netherlands. You can just log in there if you have registered there, and you can combine data from the registers and everything that's collected in the list panel. Odyssey, the Open Data Infrastructure for Social Science and Economic Innovations, where Tom is director of, also supports this by giving a budget to collect data in the list panel, but also to access microdata in there. Innovation. Well, this is what we have done more than 10 years ago. We first started by providing internet bathroom skills to 1,000 households in the list panel. Of course, with their consent, but they were standing on the bathroom scale, didn't have to do anything else via a wireless connection in the household, within the household. All data about weight and fat percentage were transferred to a central database. Some were standing on the weighting scale, the bathroom scale every day, some once a week. It doesn't matter, but within 1 year, we had 80,000 observations about weight and fat percentage. Is that unique? No, I think these kind of data are not unique, but what's unique that you can combine it with everything that's available in the list data archive, and that made it unique. So this was, well, it was not a lot of a respondent burden to collect this kind of data. It's very easy for them. They just get the bathroom scale and we get the data with their consent. Another study was an accelerometer study done with ELSA in the United States and the American Life Panel in the USA. So where we collected data on physical activity. So respondents were asked to wear some sort of accelerometer looking like a watch. And then we could collect data on their physical activity. I think we had 60 measurements per second. So there was a huge database collected, and one could study these data as well. And we use smartphones for a time use study together with the Netherlands Institute for Social Research. Normally you have these diaries, these books, where you have to write down all your activities in a 10-minute slot. And here you had just an app, and you could just register your activity in the same way. Many more episodes during the day were reported because it was much easier to do it like this compared to the diaries. We also had a study with Twente University on travel behavior using the GPS enabled on the smartphone, and everything, of course, with consent of the respondent, because that's extremely important. If you do not collect any data the respondent is not aware of. Current innovations, well, actually, the one on top has already been done. Collecting data with photos. So you have all kinds of techniques to extract information from photos. So we had a photo, for instance, question, how green is your garden? You can ask this to a question, to a respondent, but you can also take a picture and then let the machine determine how much green there is in your garden. What kind of heating system is in your house? Well, respondents do not know. Take a picture of your heating system and we can extract all information. And these are just examples of how we can innovate data collection now and in the future. And we had another study with statistical analysts with accelerometers. So, but then attached to your upper leg, which was a little bit easier than wearing this watch type thing. And that's also a way in which we can collect data. And I think the large scale longitudinal studies nowadays are also looking into possibilities of using these kind of innovations. Another innovation we have developed software for is if you have these multiplayer games. I think these are normally within the economics discipline done in a laboratory with, well, 15 respondents, 15 students. But now you can also run these kind of studies in the LISP panel, linking respondents to each other and playing these kind of games. And this is also, we are looking into what kind of possibilities it has. It's of course a challenge to make sure that the respondents, the LISP respondents, log in at the same time, but it can be done. And we are trying to see whether these kind of innovations are feasible and can be done easily. It's not that we are going to say, well, next year we are going to collect data only in this way, but just trying to find out whether it works and how it can work. This one is also a new one, is data donation. The GDPR has brought us into a new era, but it has a nice side effect because it forces big tech companies to donate, to make it possible that the respondent can retrieve all information that is stored in the system. So Google, WhatsApp, Facebook, if a respondent asks his or her data, the big tech companies have to send them a data package. And what we now are investigating is whether it's possible to install, again with consent of the respondent, a simple algorithm on the device of the respondent that extracts the information, pseudonymized information, data from these data packages, so the respondent doesn't need to do anything, but we have a rich amount of information available that can be analyzed. So it will be downloaded on the device, and the respondent then can see what is transferred to our data platform and confirms or can actually give consent that the research can have access to the data. Is this the way we have to go now? Again, no. But this is just trying to find out what can be possible in the near future. And also for Guide, this may be nice in the future because the youngsters, they live with Facebook and with WhatsApp and so on. Okay, quickly the challenges. With the online panels, with the Kabi mode, we can collect data very fast and again, high quality, but it needs investments. Grants are not enough. If we had a grant for the LISP panel for a couple of years, that does not work. You need investments that run for a longer time. It's for covering the offline population, and the best way to do is providing equipment. You can also run a mixed mode, like the GASES panel in Germany, but the problem there is then you're back to all restrictions the mail mode has. Now we can use everything that's available on the web. Incentives are important. And again, please share your data with others, because that's the way the academic community can move forward. I don't have much time, but this is also one thing that I want to show you that was very easy for us to do with the LISP panel. So when the COVID came around, Odyssey launched a call a couple of days after the COVID pandemic emerged. One of the persons who won one of these grants, Thijs Bol, fielded it in April. And of course, the commercial agency do this very quickly. And we also try to do it quickly, but still with high quality data. So this happened very quickly. So Thijs Bol wrote down his code. We collected the data. We submitted the data to him on a Wednesday. And on a Thursday evening, he was on Dutch television presenting the results. And this can be done with these kind of infrastructures we had. And if we move on to the large-scale longitudinal surveys that are around, we are involved in the European Social Survey in a SHARE project, and also with the EVS. I think that at some point in time, and these surveys are already experimenting with this, all lessons that we have learned with these online panels can be also used in these kind of comparative surveys. And Kronos is one of the first attempts to make sure that we have something as the LIS panel in place. Finally, the summary. I've taken with you the development throughout the years, and I think it does not end here. It's not that the Gabi mode or the web interviewing mode or the video mode is where we have to end. This will continue. In the Netherlands, we have all kinds of ideas to also use admin data in the data collection project. You can use admin data to look at the LIS respondents and look in network files, which are available, to see in what kind of network the respondent is operating. And these are very challenging things for the near future. But again, we need investments of this. And I hope that those who are in charge of these investments carefully listen to this, this plea for future funding for these kind of infrastructures and needs we have as social sciences. Thank you.